This was the second case study for the assessment, and this was looking at Colin and Ciara. And the first question is asking you to explain one benefit of setting up a business as a partnership. And again, you should be using the context of Colin and Ciara to guide you with this. What I would recommend is after every single question, you add context. When reading the case study, I could only really pick one clear point of context to base the answer about, and it was this idea of in order to see whether they could borrow some money to start up the business. Now, in terms of how does that relate to a partnership, I went for the approach of if you've got more people starting up and owning the company, then they could obviously put more money within the company to start off with. So my answer I've gone for is one benefit of starting up as a partnership is the additional funds to start off with. So this would be my point. And therefore, as a sole trader, it could be limited. However, as a partnership, Colin and Ciara could both input savings. And this might even mean that they don't have to borrow as much from the bank manager. So there's a bit of case study in terms of the bank manager because it does state that they're both going to look for startup money. And there's a little bit more reason as well in terms of as a sole trader, it could be limited because that if, for example, Colin was starting up the business alone, it would really be Colin who's putting the money forward. But however, because there's two of them, it's maybe both of their savings, which could help that initial setup of the company. The second question is asking you to explain two factors that will influence where Colin and Ciara locate their house painting business. So again, if I was doing ICF, I'd consider the instruction to be explained, that's the command term, and also two factors. If I was thinking about the context, again, it'd be Colin and Ciara specifically, it'd have to be about their house painting business. And if I was thinking about the focus, it's location. Now, I've included the case study next to it so I can have a look at the case study to see if there's any key points. So I'm just going to pause the video now and have a quick look, so I'd recommend you do the same. So I've highlighted two possible areas. First of all, it says many of the houses in the area where they lived looked like as if they needed a coat of paint. And my next point is a nearby town, for example, had much larger houses owned by wealthy people. So they're possible points that you could look at, or you could just consider the context of the service, the fact that it's paints and it's a house painting company. So my point is, in terms of demographics of the customer would be my factor. And I've put example being an area of high income, where wealthy customers might have larger houses, so with greater number of rooms and be more likely to spend on house improvements. Within that, there's reasoning and there's context as well. And therefore I've put, to provide even further reasoning, this would therefore help Colin and Ciara to generate higher levels of revenue as there's more chance of demand. So I've got my point, I've got my reasoning, which is contextual, and I've got further development to I suppose explain why it's a valid point in the first place. So the second point I've gone for is the levels of competition. The reason why I've gone for this one is because quite a lot of students picked this, but they didn't really develop it or add the context. So I've put levels of competition as my factor. So again, I'll just put that there in terms of my point. And I've put as Colin and Ciara are really just started up and then they have access to a small van. So that's my context. They might find that hard to operate in areas of established competitors. So again, that links to why competition might be something to consider. These companies may have loyal customers, so a bit of reason, and the ability to carry out more than one job at a time, which Colin and Ciara would struggle to do. Therefore, they may not want to locate where there are no other similar companies. And I'm just going to finish this point by I suppose, finalising it. And just finalising that point, as otherwise they would struggle to compete, and that means that they might not generate revenue. They can't compete with the bigger companies because they're only a small company, they're really just starting up, they haven't got many funds, they've only got a small van, so you could look at it from that point of view.